Color Reliance in Sheets, Accessibility in Practice, Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Let's talk about color reliance in Sheets. In front of me, I have an example Google Sheet with a color-coded sheet table. This is an assignment table. This is pretty typical in Google Sheets where we have assignments or tasks assigned to us, and they might be assigned or given priority based on color, like yellow for medium priority, green for maybe completed, already done, or red from, oh, it's overdue, you need to get it done right now. However, if someone is perhaps colorblind or is blind completely and cannot see color, it's really ineffective to provide color as the sole means of communicating the completion of a task. So we want to make sure we're not using color as the only means for communicating this information. So let's go ahead and make this particular assignment sheet accessible so that everyone can benefit from the information in this sheet. First, I recognize I have a few merged and split cells. In A1 and 2, I can tell because as soon as I select the assignment heading, it selects A column and both rows 1 and 2. That is merged. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Format, Merge Cells, and Unmerge. I can tell that Responsible Person is merged over B and C columns. So I'm also going to unmerge those cells. And finally, Date Completed is merged again over rows 1 and 2. So I'm going to unmerge those cells. Now that I have those all unmerged, I'm actually going to rename some of my headers before I convert this to a table. As we remember, we cannot convert a table into a formatted Google table with merged cells. So let's make sure we don't do that. So instead of Responsible Person, I'm going to name column B Owner and column C Supervisor. If I wanted to, I could still retain the word responsible in front or responsible person for both of them, and that would work just fine. Now that I have row 2 that says blank owner supervisor blank for my headers, it's pretty redundant, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that row. And now I have my 4 headers, assignment, responsible-owner, and then responsible-supervisor, and then date completed. So I'll go ahead and select my entire table, and then go to Format, and then Convert to Table. Wait a minute! As soon as I converted to table, all of my colors disappeared. This is because of auto-formatting. As soon as you convert to a table, all of the information that's not related to styling is converted to an automatic style that Google has chosen as a default, which is Roboto 10, standard, black text on a white background. So I'm going to undo that by using Control-Z. And instead, I need to find a way to identify the status of all of these colored rows before I convert to my table. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that information completely. So what I'm going to do is add a new column called Status. And now I'm going to list out the status of all of the assignments based on their color. So green. Let's say that green means completed. Go for green. Red. Let's say red means past due. It's usually what it means for me. No color at all could be in progress. And then yellow could be, what could yellow be? We could be TBD, to be done, to be announced. So I need to make sure all of them are on the same page. So my next assignment that's green is also going to be completed. My next red one is going to be past due. And my next yellow one is going to be TBD. Wonderful. Okay, so now when I select all of my headings and rows, including my status column, and then I go to Format and Convert to Table, it is now going to convert my entire table, including my status. So now I still have all that important information. That doesn't mean I can't go back and add color. In fact, I can go ahead and add color right now. For my completed new punk song, I can select my entire row and go to my filler color and add a light green, which I know is going to have a good contrast with my black. Remember, for all documents, text and backgrounds must have a 4.5:1 contrast. And we'll use our handy WebAIM contrast checker if we're not entirely sure. So I can still use green for folks who are visual or who are not colorblind, but for folks who still need that information via text, I also have my status column, which gives that information very clearly. Again, for past due, I'm actually going to use a lighter red than there was before because the previous one was too dark for contrast with black. So I'm going to use like a pinkier type of red. And I don't even think that's good enough. I'm going to go back and use a lighter version. There we go. And then in progress was white, and then our TBDs were yellow. So again, I can still use color, just color can't be the only means of communicating information, right? So now we have color and we have our text that says the status for all of our assignments. And of course, like every other table, we're going to name our tables. And I'm calling this assignment statuses because it's going to include all of the information in my table about the assignments, the owner, supervisor, the date completed, and the status. Find more videos on our YouTube channel at CDLE_DLSS.